If I'm being 100% honest, pie and donut charts have never been my favorite charts in Excel. And the reason why is that they are quite limited in the type of data that they can display. If you have too many data points, then the segments become too tiny and it's really difficult to ascertain any good comparison between your categories or your series. However, they can look really effective with smaller datasets. And that's exactly what pie and donut charts are best for. They're best for comparison data, proportions that total 100%, and smaller datasets. So some examples of that would be the number of male versus female employees. That's a dataset where we only have 2 data points, male and female, nice and simple. Or maybe we want to show the proportion of TikTok users by age. So maybe we have a set of 4 or 5 age ranges. Those would be perfectly fine to display in a pie or donut chart as well. Or even something like the percentage of people with specific eye colours. So brown, blue, hazel and green. There we only have 4 data points. So the common thread running through all of these things is that the amount of data points that we have is low. So let's take a look at an example of a pie chart, and then I'll show you a donut chart using 2 series, which effectively turns it into what we call a racetrack chart. So let's dive into the example. So in the spreadsheet here, I have some data for a coffee company. And we can see the different types of coffee that that company sells. We then have some revenue figures, cost, profit, the target amount in dollars, and the percentage to target. And of course, if anything is over 100%, then it means we've exceeded the target. Now, we don't need to worry about the percentage to target column as much because we're not going to use that in building our pie and donut charts. So the first thing we're going to build is just a standard pie chart. And in this pie chart, I just want to show the type of coffee and the revenue. So I'm going to select both of those columns, go to Insert, across to the charts group, and this is where we need to be. If we click the drop down, this is where you're going to find both your pie and your donut charts. So let's just do a very simple pie chart. And you can see there it is, very inoffensive and works perfectly well because we only have a few data points. And once again, we can go in and we can format this chart. We can maybe choose a different chart style. We can change the colors. I can move the legend around. So maybe this time, let's put the legend on the right-hand side. In fact, I don't like it there. It's taking up too much room. Let's go for top. And this is what I find with pie charts. I find they do take up quite a bit of room in comparison to other charts. And because they can only show small amounts of data, that's kind of why they are my favorite chart type. Now, of course, here we can right click, we can add things like data labels. And if you want to resize your charts, you can click plot area and just drag the handles out. So you can spend some time jigging this around to make it look nice. Now let's just make these data labels white fonts so that they stand out, and I think I'm going to make them bold as well. So there we go. Nothing spectacular, but it does the job. Now a donut chart is basically just the same as a pie chart, but it's just got a hole in the middle. So let's take a quick look at it. I'm going to select this chart, go to chart design and change chart type. And this time we're going to choose the donut chart, which is just a variation of the pie chart. It's this one on the end just here. And when we click on OK, you'll see we have exactly the same thing, but we just have a hole in the middle, hence why it's called a donut chart. Now, there are a couple of cool things that you can do with donut charts. So let's click on it, Control 1 to open the Format menu. Notice here we can change the whole size of the donut. So I can bring this down or I can take it up so we have a wider band. And for this one, I'm going to change the colors. Let's go to change colors, and I'm going to make this very monochromatic, and I'm going to choose this monochromatic palette 7. So let's just go for that and see what that looks like. That's not bad. Now, something else that you can do with donut charts is you can display more than one series. And when you do that, it kind of changes this donut chart into what we call a racetrack chart, because once we've done this, it does look a little bit like a racetrack. So let's say that in addition to showing the type of coffee and the revenue, I also want to show the profit in here as well. What we can do is click on the chart, go to select data, and I'm going to choose to add another series. So the series name is going to be the cell that contains the word profit, and the series values are going to be these values just here. Click on OK, and OK again. And check out what I mean. This now looks like a racetrack. Now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Let's drag that up like so. So this is kind of a way of doing a direct comparison between the revenue and the profit. Now notice here that I have data labels, and I could choose to display data labels on the outside ring as well. So if I right click and go add data labels, it's going to put those in and I can format them the same. However, I tend to think this looks kind of messy. And remember, with charts, our main goal is to keep them clean and as easy to read and interpret as possible. So in general, if I'm doing something like this, I will change the data labels so that they're not showing the actual value. Let's right click and go to Format Data Labels. So instead of showing the value, I want them to show the series name. So we want to select the series name checkbox and remove value. So this area is where you can customize what you're actually displaying in that data label. Now I'm going to do the same for the inner ring. Let's click on those. We're going to choose series name and deselect value. And then what I would generally do is delete out most of these. We don't need it to repeat the word profit, profit, profit and revenue, revenue, revenue. We just need to have one of each. So let's delete out these ones. Now, when you're deleting, you need to actually click twice, because notice when I click on one of them, it's going to select all. So if you just want to select one, you need to click again. So don't forget to do that. Click once, click twice, delete. Click once, click twice, delete. And now I've just got these two and I can start to format them a bit nicer. So maybe I want to have these over here. They're going to look a little bit better. And maybe I want to change the color of these to black. In fact, let's make them a nice red color instead. Like so. And notice when we drag these around, we kind of have a line pointing to the series. So this is a much better way, and of course you can spend a bit longer than I am jiggling around with these to make them look really cool, but that's a better way of displaying what you're actually showing in that inner and outer ring. And another thing that you can do with Doughnut charts, just to jazz them up a little bit, is I sometimes like to use the hole in the middle to add some kind of image. So sometimes I'll put a picture in here or an icon, particularly if I'm putting together something like a dashboard, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So I've saved off a picture of a coffee cup. Let's click on Insert, go to Pictures. I'm going to say Place over Cell, and I'm going to pick up my image from my Downloads folder. There it is. It's obviously way too big, so we need to resize this down. And I'm not saying that you have to do this, but just to give you an idea of some of the things you can do, I might want to put that in the middle there. And we've taken a very plain, boring chart into something that looks a lot more effective. So pie and donut charts are great for small comparison data sets.